Good morning, everybody. I'd like to share with you a new installment in my statement of faith under the heading of 10.6. I do believe that those who wish to engage in the ministry of the Word should avail themselves of such training and education as will be fitting for such an important ministry. I do not believe that a great deal of ministry is faulty because it is I do believe that a great deal of ministry is faulty because it is based on a lack of adequate or sometimes no training at all. Now in Acts chapter 8 verse 30 it says, Philip ran thither to him and heard him read the prophet Isaiah and said, Understandest thou what thou readest? And he said, How can I, except some man should guide me? And so this is one of the most important things, is that there is such a thing as the ministry of the Word, and the Bible is not something which just automatically explains itself. This book, the Scriptures, it's not an easy book to understand. It is not something automatically understood immediately, no matter how well or how carefully it might be translated into the most common language of the people. It still is something that is to be explained, and therefore it's something that we should seek to learn. We should all, as Christians, seek to get the very best scriptural education that we're able to obtain. And in 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 2 Paul says, The things which you have heard among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men, who shall be able to teach others also. So Paul had in mind a very important thing in the life of Timothy. The Apostle Paul had taught Timothy the Word. Now then, he says to Timothy, I want you to commit that truth to faithful men who will one day be able to teach others also. So it's not just about Paul teaching Timothy and Timothy teaching his converts. It's about Timothy teaching his converts to teach it to their converts. You see, Paul wasn't just thinking of his generation and Timothy's generation. He was thinking of Timothy's converts, that they might develop a teaching ministry whereby they would then be able to pass on the teaching that that Timothy had received from the Apostle Paul. Now, I do not believe that lack of formal training should ever be a barrier to ministry, but that training should be encouraged. Many a servant of the Lord, sometimes the very best servants of the Lord, are those that were completely untrained in our theological institutions and seminaries. I mean, for example, on my shelf here we have the expository dictionary of Bible words by W.E. Vine. Somebody said to him one day near the end of his life, they said, You ought to submit that to a university, you might get a doctorate for it. And he said, Why would I need a doctorate? And the answer was, well, it'll help you to get on in the world. And W.E. Vine said, Which world? Now that's a very important point. You see, we do not despise training. We do not despise the universities and colleges of this world. But we must remember that it's possible to go to college and get 32 degrees and still be frozen. So it's very important that we realize the value of training. We realize the value of what religious institutions and colleges can give. But we must not despise, and we must not have a barrier to those who are unable to avail themselves of such training. One of my heroes, a man called Harold St. John, never had the opportunity to go to college. And yet in all of England it was said that nobody knew the Bible more than Harold St. John. I do not believe that any man can just pick up and give adequate teaching based on very little training. I don't believe that. So let's go back to the original statement. It says, I do believe that those who wish to engage in the ministry of the word should avail themselves of such training and education as will be fitting for such an important ministry. And I do believe that a great deal of ministry is faulty because it is based on a lack of adequate or sometimes no training at all. Well, God bless you. Look forward to speaking to you next time. Bye for now.